Oh my gosh. They allowed me in the studio this time. Oh, we are so screwed. I am your host, Daniel Crosier. This is COFOH Live Undead, and we are joined by the amazingly talented Ryan Kruger of Fried Berry. But first,
You write something on my face?
Ryan, how are you, sir?
Hey man, how's it going? I'm well. And yourself?
Good, good. It's good to see you. Thanks for staying up late. I know it's late in South Africa where you're at.
It's 9 p.m. It's all right. It's still
Okay,
good.
okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for coming on the show and joining us. I initially saw the movie poster and trailer for your feature film, Fried Berry, and I was like, holy shit, this thing is bonkers. I can't wait to see it. Unfortunately, I still haven't been able to see it, but I've been able to follow up on your body of work. My first question out of the gate is, who are you? Where do you come from, and how did you get into filmmaking?
So yeah, I think. Well, originally I grew up in the UK. Mom's English, father's South African. So
Oh, cool.
I've always been back and forth to South Africa. But for the past 13 years, I've been living in Cape Town. And yeah, I think growing up in the UK, started out as an actor first. And then apart from that, I got my first little video camera back in the day where I used to, shoot all, it's like that movie Super 8, it was like, we get the camera on the summer or the weekends. I would shoot like all these films with my friends. We must have made about 300 of them. They were all terrible, but it was a big learning curve. And then, as time went on, I started making short films and music videos. And then when I moved to South Africa in like 2008, I think that's where my body of work properly started, because I had a decent crew and a good DP and working with really good people, doing what they do, whether it's an editor or grading or, sound design, music, everything. So I think that's where all my, all my best work probably started. But yeah, it's been like 22 years of doing acting and directing. So it's been a long journey, but it's been interesting. You have the highs and lows, and I mean, you're only gonna learn more with your craft as you go on. But then you get to a certain point where you can't afford to make mistakes anymore, and it's like it is what it is, and that's it. But yeah, that's cool. It's I enjoy what I do, and enjoy working with other crew members and stuff like that. And I think I always say like filmmaking is a very collaborative thing.
Yeah, it takes a whole bunch of different disciplines from all various backgrounds and craft levels too. So that's great that you're able to bring all these different talents together for your projects. As I mentioned, I haven't been able to catch Fried Berry, but I checked out the short film that the feature is based off of, and it's absolutely lovely, gonzo, crazy, trippy shit. The visuals.
It's just one of those. I think the short is almost it's there's no really narrative, you know, the narrative,
right.
the story, it's more of a feel, you know, it's more of a, you know, it's about a guy tripping on his latest, you know, drug, and, you know, he lives in this abandoned building, but it was designed to make you feel uncomfortable. And that's the thing. It's like, it's only 3 minutes long, but it's, you know, it's almost like it just makes you feel uncomfortable. It's almost like a drug PSA, like, don't do fucking drugs. You know, it's just like I think they should show that at like schools and shit, where people will be like, oh, fuck, okay, I'm never touching drugs if this is going to happen, you know?
Yeah, well, it'd be more effective, but then I think people would just watch your film and it's like, okay, I won't do drugs, but how did you do that? Let's go figure that out.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's really, you know, I've seen the short film a couple times, 3 or 4 times actually, because the visuals are incredibly striking. Your actor, you know, Gary Green, I mean, he's really expressive in all of that, and a lot of it kind of echoes, I think, to a lot of your music video work as well. I see a lot of the similar techniques or approaches, and how you use lighting and framing and everything, and it's very stoic, and has as well as has a lot of teeth to it.
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved characters, you know. So for me, interesting faces is always just, you know, I always laugh because, you know, like, you'll get Instagram or whatever, and, you know, a girl will post up, or a guy will post up like a photography shot. Maybe it's a photographer, and he'll post up a picture of a sexy girl or whatever, or it'll be a girl posting up a sexy picture or whatever. And then obviously it gets like so many hits, and loads of people are like, yeah, it's great. And then the funny thing is, sometimes, you know, like, I'll get somebody like, you know, Gary Green or the actors that I work with that I love, their faces, they've just got, you know, with the wrinkles or whatever, they've just got like such an interesting face. And you put that online, and it's like, you'll get like a decent amount of people going, yeah, that's cool. And then, but it won't get as many likes as like, you know, somebody going, yeah, she's hot, or yeah, it's a great picture, or yeah, you know. So it's always funny how, you know, when you're looking on social media and what you post out and what the reactions are with, you know, with certain things. But yeah, I've always been a love of characters. It just makes things so much more gritty and raw and real, instead of everything being polished and nice and perfect, you know?
Yeah. There's more of like an honesty too about it, you know, wearing your scars and your wrinkles.
Yeah, it's better. It's so much more, for me, it's so much more entertaining, and just real, you know, so much more real.
Yeah. That's great. With your actor too. Like, can you tell us where you found him? Was he always just an actor around, or somebody you always worked with?
Yeah, so I met Gary Green, Mr. Fry Barry. I met him probably about 11, 12 years ago, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, something like that. And Gary's background is, he was normally an extra. So he was just normally an extra on set. And then when he would, be on these TV series or films as an extra, you know, he would always get like a featured little, you know, clip of him in a TV series or a film, because he's got such an interesting face. And then when I met Gary on it was on a film, independent movie. I met him on, it was just like an independent film for a film university and film school. And yeah, we just got speaking, and then Gary ended up doing some featured stuff in like my music videos, and he was always just like, you know, little clips of him. And then as years went on, we started to, you know, I started giving him a bit bigger role, and and I just got to know Gary more. And lovely guy, you know. He's that very like offbeat sort of guy, and I think maybe some people won't understand him, but he's like, when you get to know him and everything, he's like such a cool guy, and he's great to work with. But yeah, he hasn't had that like actor training and stuff, but because I know Gary so well now, it's like I know what to say to him, what not to say to him.
Cool.
When it comes to directing, like if I'm dealing with an actor, I will say something completely different to what I would say to Gary to get exactly what I want. But yeah, he's a great guy, and I think doing even doing the 2017 Fry Barry short. I mean, even that was like a big thing for Gary because he was the only guy in the thing, and it was like straight away I knew I want to do this project with Gary because I know he would be perfect for it. He's just got this great look and this presence,
Yeah, he certainly does. The when and this is your first feature film after doing so many amazing short films and music videos and commercial work. How did the idea and if you could too, like share what Fried Berry is about too.
Yeah, well, originally when I did the short in 2017, I got to a point in my I'll try to do this in a nutshell.
Oh no!
I got to a point in my career where I was just overdoing music videos, and I've always wanted to do film, and it's just taken that step, into film. And at the time, I decided that I wanted to do a project a project within 4.5 years of doing 8 experimental films, which I'm actually still doing now. It's been 4.5 years. It was actually meant to be 4 years, and now it's 4.5 years. So some of my favorite work that I've ever done is not even released yet. So I've been the only reason why I released Fry Barry the short is because the feature was going to come out. So at that time, being frustrated where I was, I also went through a pretty tough time with my health. I had something wrong with my kidney.
Oh, no.
I had all these scans. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I thought I had like cancer or some shit like that. And it was just, it was just a down spiral where it was just so many things all at the same time. And I literally had this operation, got sepsis, nearly died, broke up with a girlfriend, cat got cancer. It was just like so much that all happened at the same time. And then after that, I went into depression, and I've never been depressed in my whole life. So I think it was like the worst time in my life. But at the same time, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have made Fry Barry, because when I was at the bottom of this hole, it was like, what is the number one thing that I've always wanted to do? And it was like to make a feature film. So for me, Fry Barry like saved my life in so many ways, and it was my medicine to keep me busy with something and to put all the passion and everything into that. And because when I made the short, it was never a plan to make a feature film of Fry Barry. It was just a standalone experimental. There was no sci-fi things to the short. So I mean, I had all these other scripts that I could have made. And then I just decided, I got the idea the one night, wrote a 50% scene breakdown within 3 days, and I knew how roughly the movie was going to go. And then I spoke to my producer, and I said, I'm a producer I only knew for like a month or two. And I said, I want to make a feature film next month. And he was like, have you got a script? And I was like, no. And he's like, have you got some money? And I was like, well, I got some money, and if you put some money in, we can do this thing, but we're going to have to film it over a year, and which it ended up being a year and a half, 28 days. And he was like, well, why do you want to shoot it next month? And I was like, because if we don't shoot it next month, it's just going to get pushed back, and it's never going to happen. And I'm like, I'm shooting next month, you either with me or you're not. And he's like, cool, let's do it. And it was literally a month later. And that was the cool thing. So it was like shoot, plan. And in a sense, it was great to do that, because I was busy writing as I went along, and I was doing a lot of improv on set with the actors and trying different things. So nothing was set in concrete. And that's why, for me, this film had to be the best thing that I've ever done. And it had to be probably the most creative that I've ever been. And I think, when you make your first feature film, obviously people will say, it's got to be good. You got to make a good film, but it's such a understatement because it literally has to be the best shit that you've ever done.
Right.
Otherwise, what the hell are you doing? There's no point. So to have that creativity and to be organic and nothing set in stone, and to get an idea and go, okay, let's try this and let's try that. So I improvised. So I wrote like all the main pieces of dialogue in the film, and as we went on, I was writing the scenes, and some of the scenes was just this happens, and he meets this person, and then when I was on set, then I would go through it with the actors and so on, and then I played around with a lot of the actors with improv and stuff like that. But then the only guy that I didn't want to improv was Gary, because Gary isn't a trained actor. So I needed, the movie relies on Gary, because he is by Barry, and the movie is Barry. So so I didn't want him to improv. So Gary was the only person that I was like very strict with. And I was like, you must only do this, you must only do that. And the funny thing is, in the film, he mimics, a lot of, because he's this, it's alien inside this drug addict's body. And this alien is mimicking people in the movie. So the funny thing is, when it came to direction, the camera will be here, and then Gary, the camera will be here, Gary will be there, and then I'm on the side of the camera saying, right, copy my face. Now do this face. Now do that face. And it was literally like that. So in the edit, I go, okay, I've got this reaction, I've got that reaction. So it looks like it's hitting like all these beats to get exactly what I wanted. But it was funny and ironic that his character mimics people, and then he's mimicking me with the performance. But as I said, I think Gary, I said to Gary at the beginning, this is his opportunity. This is his his chat. So he gave 120%. He was amazing on set. Always wanted to go for another take. And I remember the first day of shooting, I was like, I said to Gary, don't be intimidated by all these other big South African actors that's in this movie. And because, their experience to Gary's experience, is so big compared to his. But I'm like, you're the lead guy, Gary, in this movie. You're the star of the movie. And, just listen to me and do what I say. And then I promise you, like, everybody will love you. And that's the thing. And it's, he did an amazing job. And like we were saying now with, so the overall story with Fry Barry is this drug addict that gets abducted by aliens, spat back out, and basically this alien takes this drug addict's body for a joyride through the darkest, deepest alleyways of Cape Town. So and it's this journey. It's like a road trip movie without a car, and Barry's the car. That's basically what it is.
Oh man, yeah. So here's the car. Here's Barry. I love it. As we were talking about before, he's incredibly expressive. He's got such a great face. He's got such an interesting face, and that's the thing with Gary. Nobody looks like Gary. He is who he is. He's a character, and that's his thing. I always say to him, with actors, we get put into boxes. You're gonna normally play this character and this character, because that's the thing. It's like when you go for auditions or book jobs through casting director and stuff like that, you're already seen in a certain way. So you'll always be like, okay, you're gonna be the drug addict, the rapist, the crazy guy, the bad guy number one. You're going to be these people, and it's like, you're not going to be the love interest. You're not going to be this. You're not going to be that. So it's, like I said to Gary, it's like, you've got this look, and that's your selling point. That's your selling point. People don't need to, on certain other projects, they have to make everybody look like this and like that. And Gary's just like, this is him. This is real, and that's cool. And that's his selling point. No, that's fantastic. The way you went about, making the film too, is, such an organic, thing. Obviously, like you said, scripting out the main dialogue points, but shooting a little, planning a little, shooting a little. It's like, what a way to really react to whatever situation, whatever resources are available.
And that's the thing, like on, normal films and stuff, TV or whatever, everything's planned way, way in advance, and everything's set in concrete. And, it's not really going to be different on the day, apart from either maybe directing a bit different. All the dialogue and everything is set. They can't waste time.
Yeah.
And because of money and this and that. So the cool thing about this is just living in that moment and being going, this is a good idea. Let's try this. Let's try that. And to have that, being organic and not set in stone, it's like it can go either way. And some of the scenes were completely different, and I rolled like 2 takes, and then I'd be like, got a better idea. Let's try this. And then the better idea was in the movie, because it just came to me at the time, but it made it so much stronger or so much funnier. And you can't do that when you make normal movies. And I think, if we shot 28 days straight, the movie would be nowhere near as good. So, to spread it out over a year and a half, it was great, because then I knew what I needed, what I haven't got yet, what I need to shoot. And then you can put, we need more of this, we need more of that. So it was good to like shoot, plan, and then shoot. So, so I think, that alone made the film, stronger overall, so we can think about those things that we need and plan it, and have time to plan in between, the breaks, and then start shooting again,
Yeah. The nice thing too is, instead of, doing the marathon run, you guys can take breaks, regroup, have a breather and stuff, instead of, shooting straight through, and maybe you get a Sunday off.
Yeah. We had a lot of Sundays off.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, dude, it would have been great to shoot all the way through, but with budget and everything that we were, what we were doing, but it definitely made the film better, because we had that time to explore and to come up with, more creative, ideas and stuff like that. So it was definitely beneficial,
Yeah, the just seeing some of these like visuals. I mean, and of course, how you shoot music videos and everything. To me, I can see that that aesthetic, play into a lot of this too, like visually. It's like moving paintings. I'm absolutely gripped by.
Yeah, it was almost like, when I like techniques that I liked in certain music videos and stuff that I've done, I've also brought it into the film and done it bigger and better, and that was almost like, there was some things that I've tried in the past, and I didn't get it exactly the way I wanted it, or I did and I really liked it, and then I put it into the movie where I can make everything just pop more. And that's the thing, like when you're doing music videos, I was very lucky to always come up with my own ideas, and the artist always let me do what I wanted, which is great. Cool. But at the same time, I was still in a box, in a sense of this has to get on TV, so it can't be too crazy. This has to fit with this style of music and this audience, so I can't go too crazy. So I was still in a box. And that's why I wanted to do, the 4.5-year project with experimentals and doing Fry Barry, where I can do whatever I want. I don't have to answer to anybody. I can literally don't have to think about all these restrictions or anything. And and I mean, even the experimentals, it was like it's some of my favorite work, and it's not even out yet. And and it's the same with Fry Barry,
Yeah, one of the short films that I was watching earlier today, Screen Behind the Mirror, seemed very I don't know how if it was a short film done in that period, but it seemed very personal and very dealing with trauma and everything, but with no dialogue. But the viewer really gets what you're trying to express. I mean, it's pretty stark.
Yeah, I still really enjoy that film. I mean, and we shot that. I think it was like 8mm film. So we shot that. I mean, even that is like, I even think that's like 11, 12 years old already. That film, but it was also the first time I shot on film. So it was like every single scene that every single shot in that movie that you see is that shot. It's like there was no like, I think we probably had 2 takes on 2 shots, and everything else you see is what we shot. There was no other take. That is completely what you see.
Wow, that's man, that's amazing. It's like I said, you know, it seems to deal with the theme of trauma and everything. It's incredibly intense and leaves, you know, a lot of there's a lot of visceral sensibilities, you know, right in there too. The poor girl going through all that trauma of whether she's like having electroshock therapy, but then also focusing on what that clown did, you know, when she was a young person. It's like, oh my god.
It's a pretty dark story.
Yeah,
pretty dark story.
Yeah, but I think also too, it just kind of sets up to so much more of what work is yet to come, and what will be seen from you, especially if you did it like 12 years ago, which I thought it was a little bit newer film. So it's there's definitely that timeless sensibility, and I absolutely just love going through your
there was even references. Yeah, there was even references in Screen Behind the Mirror with I think you might have one of the images, maybe I sent you, I can't remember, but even like when the girl sat up and screamed behind the mirror, and then those electric things, visual effects that came to the side of a temple, and then in Fry Barry did the exact same thing, and it was just done better. And actually that reference actually came from that 80s movie Explorers with River Phoenix and Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, I remember that movie. That, oh man, that was a nice little bit of my childhood right there.
Yeah.
So with that, with Fried Berry and doing like you had your initial screening, I think in the U.S. Like right around the time COVID kicked in, didn't you?
Yeah, it was in March at CineQuest in San Jose.
Nice. Yeah. What was that like? The audience was pretty responsive.
Yeah, I mean, what I love about America compared to like England or like South Africa is that the audience shouts out and says things that they're not just sitting there watching it. They're really having like an experience and laughing really loud and and really like shouting at the screen and stuff like that. So it was awesome. It was me and my producer James C. Williams. It was so great to sit there and watch it on the big screen for the first time and just see everybody's reactions in the movie, which was great.
That's cool. So the audience is here in the U.S. a little bit more exuberant, but I'd imagine the film's really well received also in your home of South Africa and the UK.
Yeah, I mean we've had amazing feedback. We've had like amazing reviews. It's played all around the world at film festivals, some of the biggest genre film festivals. I mean, yeah, it's just been a great response, and I think we're on like 82% on like Rotten Tomatoes, which is pretty good.
Nice.
And yeah, we just so many like great reviews and fans that have watched it. It's just been crazy, that people reaching out. And I was just saying to you earlier, I mean, in March when the whole pandemic came about, I sat there and I thought, I make my first movie,
Right.
and now this shit happened, and my movie's going to go down the drain. And it was completely opposite. And it's actually been so beneficial during this crazy time because, don't get me wrong, there's nothing better than going to a film festival and sitting around people that love movies and, and watching these movies. It's great. But, you're looking at 400, 500, 600, sometimes 700 people in a cinema screening, at these festivals watching your film. And because of the pandemic, everything was online. So now when everything went online in all these different countries for Fry Barry, we ended up having 4,000 to 5,000 people in different countries watching the film just in that country. So when it played like Mexico or Brazil or all these different places, we had 4,000 to 5,000 people watching it, which created way more buzz, made way more people talking about it online. So it really just blew up tremendously just from that. So it was definitely beneficial. And I think in the future, when you go to a film festival, you can't sit there and watch all the films anyway. It's like there's too many. So the cool thing is, and not everybody maybe has the money to go travel to wherever the festival is. So, I think in the future, it will be like online and, and screenings as well.
Yep.
Because, you never want to lose the actual going to the festival and everything. So, you can get the best of both worlds. So, you can go to the festival, watch the films that we watch. And then the other ones, you can watch it online. And if you can't make it, you can watch it online. So I think it's more beneficial for the filmmakers. And I think it's more beneficial for the people that actually run the festivals, where it will also make more money.
Yeah, most definitely. The I think the experience. Well, having those options is fantastic. Obviously, here in the U.S., nowadays I pretty much just take all of my new media online. In the safety of the house, and I do miss the theater experience. I think the last movie I saw in the theater was Bloodshot. I think didn't you work on that for a little bit?
Yeah, I had a little shot there. It was like in his memory when he's trying to remember the person that put the gun to his head or something like that. It's a little there, but it was it was cool. I got to meet Guy Pearce. He was really nice guy.
Nice.
So that was cool.
That's cool. Yeah, I love Guy Pearce. Love his work. Memento, of course, is a classic.
Yeah. Great actor.
Nice. That's cool. I think that the one thing is like going to a theater, having that camaraderie of the experience. Kind of like what you were talking about how people received your film in the U.S. At the Cinequest screening. One thing I miss too is like like you said, having that jovial reaction in parts of the film and stuff.
Yeah, it's great. That's why I'm saying there's some films. I think Fry Barry is definitely a great film to watch at the cinema. It's a great film to watch with a bunch of people. It's that type of film. And the amount of people that reached out to us and also said, I really want to watch this on the big screen. It would be so much better on the big screen because it's such a wild, crazy movie, and the audience is like reacting like all the time. Like the amount of stuff that's in the movie, people are going to be reacting to it. And that's what's great about, film festivals is there's nothing better. It's like, I always think it's like you're sitting in this room with all these people that love movies just as much as you. And, normally anywhere else you go, there's people that may like movies and don't like whatever. And when you're at a film festival, you're just surrounded by all these passionate people, whether it's filmmakers or just people that love, fans of like horror or whatever. And it's amazing to sit there and speak to all these people, and they've just got just as much as love and passion for, for this, for genre movies and stuff like that. There's nothing better than that. It's great.
Oh yeah, it's great to see all these people that are there engaged. They're all in the same wavelength, same passion.
Yeah.
It's that
Yeah, no,
dialogue of the creative art that's splashed on that big screen, and the
yeah,
camaraderie that comes with that. Yeah, at the same time too, it might be a little bit more isolated, but somebody's at home, enjoying your work too. And
well, you can always press pause when you're at home.
Yep.
Get a drink, go to the toilet,
Yeah.
and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, get a cigarette and go to town. Yeah, you were mentioning too before we went live your experience with COVID and the cigarette bans in South Africa. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it was like only South Africa. So, I mean, just like every other country now, there's lots of different rules.
Right.
We had a 9 p.m. curfew. We've had, I think, a 7 p.m. curfew. Now we're at 11 p.m. curfew. And, alcohol was banned, just before Christmas and after New Year because, people would want to party. So alcohol was banned a few times and then they brought it back again. And then during the first lockdown, they banned cigarettes. So all those, I don't even know why they banned it. Doesn't make sense to me, but anyway. But so yeah, I mean, I smoke. So the thing was, over in South Africa, you pay like 40, 50 rand for a pack of cigarettes. And when all the cigarettes got banned, obviously you couldn't buy it anywhere. So there was only certain like little shops that would sell, cigarettes on the black market, but it was like the cheap cigarettes, which you would normally pay like 15 or 20 rand for. But because everybody wants them, they're selling it for like 200, 300 rand for a pack. And as time went on, it got cheaper and cheaper, but the cigarettes were like disgusting. It was so bad. And it's such a dirty habit. And I've quit quite a few times and I still want to quit again. But yeah, I got to a point where I couldn't smoke those bad cigarettes, and times were hard. You were locked, basically locked in your house, couldn't go anywhere. And then I remember years ago there used to be those like herbal cigarettes, which just like herbs. And then and I was like, shit, I'd probably rather smoke those than the crappy cigarettes that they were selling, which was really expensive. So then I got like expensive like herbal tea. So then I would sit there and I'd be like rolling a herbal tea cigarette, a herbal cigarette, and I was just like, yeah, times were hard, but a lot of time to think about a lot of stuff. But yeah, it was just it was crazy. And then cigarettes came back and everybody was happy. And yeah, I think there's a lot worse people out there,
right.
That will smoke a hell of a lot or will drink a hell of a lot. And it's crazy just to take those things away from people. Like, I'm sure people went nuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the alcohol and the tobacco thing. I don't understand. Was it just at the pubs or that you couldn't buy anything at the markets?
Yeah, you can buy it anywhere. So as soon as they would stop. They made it illegal, then you couldn't get it anywhere. All the shops would just stop. You couldn't, everybody was not allowed to sell. So it was like you couldn't, it's like what you see in those like prison movies where they got like little cigarettes and they just like trade them like that. Yeah. It was like that.
Prison DIY, huh?
Yeah, completely.
Oh man, that's pretty intense. The with the pandemic too, like how has that impacted your creativity and kind of your work output?
Yeah, well, I mean, for a while in South Africa, there was a lot of shops that were closed, and then obviously a lot of people losing their businesses and this and that, and then obviously in Cape Town in South Africa, we have a lot of overseas, people coming from England and America shooting TV film here, and then we got a lot of people from all around the world shooting commercials here. So that basically stopped. And yeah, so it was a very hard time for any artists and even theater artists. Everything just like stopped. But I think as time's gone on now, things are getting better. There is like stuff getting shot here now and stuff like that. I was on set like about 3 weeks ago. Nice. So yeah, so there is the wheel is turning and things are getting better. But obviously, you know, there's a lot of restrictions now and there's a lot of protocol. You know, it's very different on set where you got to constantly wear your mask. You've got to get tested before you go on set. All the food is different. It's like packaged for you, or you pre-order before you get on set. So yeah, there's a lot of different changes. And when you're a film production company, obviously you got to get people to come and clean up, clean the location beforehand, clean the location afterwards. And yeah, it's just crazy. It's completely different. And then obviously people are doing that and making a shitload of money. So I think it's harder for independent filmmakers for doing these types of projects because they won't be able to afford, you know, all these rules and regulations of getting the COVID people on board to clean, to clean stuff. And yeah, so it's different, and it's probably costing a hell of a lot more money for, even bigger budget types of films or TV series, because they've got to isolate their assets and keep everybody in a hotel or whatever. It's pretty crazy.
Yes, it sounds like a daunting task, a lot of hurdles to jump through.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, when we we're talking off camera too, you were mentioning how it's summer down there. We've got a little case of the winter blues up here. So it's got to be a wonderful time to start getting back to work too for you.
Yeah, and that's what I said. There is stuff floating about, so there is stuff. But yeah, I mean, during lockdown, it was a good time to write. It was a good time to edit, or we had all still had quite a lot still to do. I mean, and that's why I said I think when the first lockdown came, I think everybody's we always have these excuses where like, oh, we're too busy to do this, we're too busy to do that. But we had nothing but time to write, or have that project that you wanted to edit, or have that artwork that you wanted to do. We had nothing but time to do like stuff. And but then at the same time, even it was a crazy time. There was a lot going on, but at the same time, you got to be in the right mood to create stuff. You got to be in the right mood to write. I mean, at one point, I made a birdhouse out of chopsticks.
Oh, cool! That sounds cool.
So I got halfway through. I was going to make like a castle, and I got halfway through. I was just like, I'm just going to put a roof on it, make it a birdhouse.
Call it good.
Yeah. The glue ran out, so I was just like, I'm not even going to go further with this. Make a roof, done.
That's awesome. Oh man, yeah, that's great. Well, it sounds like you're able to branch out and like find new creative avenues.
Yeah, I think a lot of people during this time has found different avenues to go down and to create stuff. And there's many people that did productions where they made like a film where it's all on Zoom, and they had all that footage and they edited, and people found different ways to pass the time and to still be creative and do cool stuff. So that's the thing. Everybody will always find a way to do things. Yeah. To get that content about. And I mean, for years now, everything's online as well. Anyway, you know what I mean? I mean, like, I think it was about like 8 years ago or maybe more now, Steven Spielberg said, there's going to be a lot of, in the future, there's not going to be loads of movies on at the cinema. Because, as time goes on, it's like the cinemas like gets more expensive and this and this and this. And then, it costs money for, productions to get the film and the cinema and wide releases. And the cinema will just end up being like blockbuster movies, and that's it, and nothing else. It'll just be the big films, and the rest of everything else is, you've got Netflix and you've got all these, different platforms now of screening. But I think for the filmmaker, like for me, I love cinema. I love sitting there. I love watching on big screen. But I think for people to watch your work as a filmmaker, I mean, that's where everybody is. Anybody can watch it, and everybody's basically got internet and can sit there and watch your film. And at the end of the day, that's the more people see your film, the better it is.
Yeah, it's way more accessible, that way too. So you have the potential of reaching an endless audience. Growing up, going all the way back there, growing up, like what films and really grabbed your attention and really informed your childhood.
Yeah, I think growing up in England, there was always there was. Well, in England, it's not like in South Africa. I think it's pretty hard to get like a lot of stuff. Obviously, if you go on the internet, you can find stuff. But in England, it was always like there's so many movies available. There's so many, ways to get like old films, whether it's on video or DVD or whatever. It's so much more accessible there. But growing up, it was I'm a big 80s kid, so I love any 80s stuff, like, growing up on, Steven Spielberg or David Cronenberg or David Lynch or, or just like cool 80s, like horror films, whether it was like Nightmare on Elm Street or, The Fly or Christine. And, I think growing up with all those, like my dad was like a big movie buff. So, I mean, by the time it came to the mid 90s, already saw most films from like 50s, 60s, 70s and 80s, and and then going up into the 90s. And back then you could do that. Now there's so much content, it's impossible to watch everything. I mean, back then when I was a kid, it was like, you go to that video shop, and I'd go to the video shop with my dad, and you'd be like, cool, choose the video. It would be like a Friday, Saturday night, and I would be like, oh, cool. And you'd spend like, your mom would always stay at home, and you'd be in the video shop for like 2-3 hours.
I know, right?
Picking that video, and then sometimes your dad would go, all right, we can get 3 or we can get 2. And you'd be like, what? And then you'd pile them all up, and you're like, okay, it's going to be this one, or it's going to be that one, and you just go through it and end up, picking movies. And I think, growing up as well, even with all the like the 80s horror, and I mean, 80s horror films, they had the best, video covers. They had the best like artwork and stuff. Where you just looked at the cover and go, oh, I want to watch this. I've got to check this out.
Oh yeah, I remember growing up when VHS came into being. You had the video store and everything. Just judging a film based off of the artwork, and it's like, oh my God. And of course, if I was underage at the time, trying to coax my parents into, we need to get this one. It's like, I don't know, there's a lot of boobies in this one, or there's a lot of beheadings and stuff.
Well, that was always the scene when you're sitting there with your folks, and then like there'll be a sex scene that comes up, and you're like, I'm just getting a drink, or I'm just gonna go and get a snack, or whatever. So, but that's the thing, like, the kids of today, they're just scrolling through like Netflix and Amazon Prime or whatever. That's why I'm saying it was just that there was something about when you're a kid and you go into that video shop and they're all there in front of you. And you're looking and you're trying to pick one, and like you said, you go on the front cover. But the other thing was, we used to see a lot more trailers, because every video had like 6 or 7 fucking trailers before the movie started. So it was always a big thing. And I was kind of lucky that, my dad like let me watch anything that I wanted to watch. He'll be like, yeah, it's cool, let's get it. So I was lucky that my dad wasn't strict. My mom was more strict. My mom would be like, are you sure they should watch this? And my dad's like, they know what's right and they know what's wrong. It's all like plasticine and whatever. So it was just like, I was always allowed to watch whatever my dad let me watch, but I turned out all right. So it was all right. So so it's just not the same. It's just
Right.
I think with content now, there's just so much. It's impossible to, like, back then, like I said, there wasn't nowhere near as much content, so you could watch like most things that came out. I mean, I was a big fan of Jerry Lewis, so I watched like all of Jerry Lewis's films, and all these films, and now it's almost like the people that live on these certain platforms.
Yeah.
I've searched for certain things on some of these platforms, and there's loads of movies that's not on there. And then on Netflix, there's a lot of shit that's not on Netflix. So all these like youngsters now that are going on Netflix, I mean, they could just watch whatever's on that and don't look for anything else, and then that's it.
Right.
So the knowledge of films, unless they're going on IMDb and looking at the top 100 films or whatever, top horror films or whatever. I mean, how else are they gonna find out about a lot of these old school movies? And I think for me, I mean, it's not often now, because there's so much content getting made. It's not often now that it doesn't happen that much now. Like when I watch a film and I go, that is a great movie, I want to watch that again. And that only happens like every now and then, and then there's some films that you watch that you're like, that's great, that's a great one-time sit movie. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a great one-time sit movie, then it's done, and you'll never need to like return to it again. But I think times have just changed where there's probably more shit movies than good movies these days, and that's why I go back and you go back and you watch Lost Boys, you go back and watch Goonies or Stand By Me or these films, and it's good, it's going to be good, and you're going to enjoy it, and you enjoy just as much as you always did.
Yeah, well, and I think it says so much more too. Like growing up with the media that you are. I mean, growing up that way, it's in your DNA. So like something like Lost Boys or The Fly, Alien. It's just like, man, you can always go there, and there's always that tender spot in your heart for those. And I think with some of the streaming platforms too today. Like it gives me an excuse to go on deep dives to find obscure things that I've never heard of, and give those things an opportunity and a chance. Mike just chimed in. Hi guys, Ryan, you are awesome. I remember the video stores too. Good times renting R-rated flicks. Ryan, what do you think is a good platform route for indie producer these days?
I mean, to make content.
I think that's what he's saying, to make content and to get content on.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a very hard thing to answer, because I mean, as indie filmmakers, we're all trying to. I always say to filmmakers, it's all about having content. You got to have content, and then you've got to. You make a film, you've got to sell it, and you really got to, use all those avenues to get it out there, or to get the right people to watch it. But it's all about getting the good content. I mean, there's so many different levels of filmmakers, whether they're making pilots or or films, and then sometimes you have to find the right platform for your type of film, and it's exactly the same with festivals, where I could put Fry Barry in a certain festival and they'll probably hate it, and then you put it in at Sitges in Spain, which we just played in November, which I went to, and you'll sit there and everybody will rave about it and they'll love it because it's the right audience. So, you get all these different platforms, whether it's, Netflix or like Shudder or, you know what I mean? It really depends. I mean, I think the key thing is to get it out there and get a sales agent to try, and get your film and pitch it to different territories to sell it. But I think the biggest thing is, like when I made Fry Barry, is you got to know your audience. And with Fry Barry, I knew who I was making it for. I knew the crowd that would love it, because I was that crowd. I was that kid loving all those movies and all the films that I just mentioned now. And that's the thing. And if you know your audience, then it's great. And then it will be a success, because you're you're doing those things that you love, and I think that's the thing. Make stuff that you know that you love and that and it's like when they say writing, it's like when it comes from like experience and stuff like that, and it really does make the film more enjoyable and just having that connection. Even though Fry Barry's got like a lot of drugs in it, I don't take drugs or anything like that, but it's all coming from all those like 80s films and those visuals and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Real quick before we wrap up, Ryan, what can we see from you in the future? I when I went to your website, I noticed there's a trailer for something called Edge of Chaos. Is that?
Yeah, Edge of Chaos was it was a concept approval trailer that a film that I wanted to make, and that was already quite a few years ago now. So yeah, obviously as a writer director, I have all these different scripts and stuff that I want to make, but Fry Barry's coming out soon. I can't say when, but it is coming out very soon.
Nice.
And that's going to have a good release. And and then I also have the 8 experimentals that is probably going to come out also in the next few months. But apart from that, right now I'm looking at my next film and hopefully getting that done and start doing pre-production for that.
Cool. Yeah, we can't wait to see Fried Berry finally for wide release, and we're looking forward to what you put out next. For everybody watching, make sure to visit friedberry.com for updates, and visit Ryan at ryankruger.tv for all his old and current work. I mean, you have just so many projects on there. It's really great to scroll through and watch all the music videos and short films that you have up there.
Cool, man. Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah. Looks like we got one more comment. Oh, Mike says thanks, and keep the cameras rolling. Thanks,
Mike. Thanks, dude.
But go ahead, stick around for a little bit, Ryan, after we sign off. For everybody else, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for this week for 35 Left Studios. Let me turn off that banner real quick. For hosting me today in their soundstage. Thanks, Carl. And then thanks to Alien Donut Films for sponsoring me. Bill and Angela, thanks for putting up with my shenanigans, and to my producers Stefan Santa Cruz and Amanda Armstrong, greatly appreciate it. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us again. It was absolutely spectacular, learning more about what you do and learning more about where Fried Berry came from, and we can't wait to check it out.
Cool, man. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on, man. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. And everybody else out there, during this pandemic time, be good, help each other out, be safe. We love you. Take care.